have any intention whatsoever of using it against us or our friends, we will reduce your country to ashes. And the Iranians know that. They have a long history with the Russians. So Europe suffers from no existential external threat. The existential threat to Europe resides with the millions and millions of Muslims from North Africa, the Middle East, and Turkey that will never assimilate, cannot be assimilated, because assimilation would mean the destruction of Western civilization. The Germans know it, the French know it, everybody knows it, but it's politically incorrect to say so. So that's a huge problem in Europe, and it's compounded by the financial disaster. So for the foreseeable future, I would sort of say the Europeans are temporarily on sabbatical. And I think this latest episode in Libya is going to put a permanent nail in that coffin, because this thing has dragged on, and it's ridiculous. I mean, what, 6 million people living in that place? Land a battalion and get it over with if they really want to. It's absurd. Yes.
Colonel Tippy, Seminar 4. All right, gentlemen. You also did not talk about space very much. Did you not talk about that for a reason?
Well, I've talked to you about, I've mentioned that there are thousands of satellites in space. Some of these, of course, are satellites that we no longer routinely use. We can turn them on and off at will from NRO, and they do contain capabilities that we can employ. My point is that organizationally, we have not sat down and looked at that array, along with arrays on the planet, along with the links between them and the various platforms in the armed forces, and come up with a menu that leads us to this maneuver ISR strike sustainment complex I'm talking about on a regional basis. This, by the way, is very, very attractive to the Japanese and the Koreans because, again, that's their forte, information technology, and they want to move into the aerospace realm. And they want to do it with us, not against us, because of China. The reason I'm not going any further is you start to talk about these things, and the NRO shows up at your front door and says, "What the hell are you doing, Macgregor?" So that's really why I'm trying to reassure you that the potential is enormous. It's untapped. People think we're tapping it. I hadn't even begun to think about it. If I can move 15,000 signals from unmanned buoys in 60 feet of water, you know, they're down at 60 feet below the surface, and track on the basis of cavitation what comes within 500 meters or 1,000 meters of the buoy, what do you think we can do? I mean, that's the tip of the iceberg.
Dr. Macgregor, this will be our last question.
Well, this guy's had his hand up for a long time.
We'll go with that.
And he looks bitter. So.
You think?
Yes.
Good morning. Greg Ranger, Northwestern State University of Louisiana, and a member of Seminar 2. Thank you. Just curious about your, if you could elaborate on your concept of the limited liability partnerships. When I first heard the phrase some years ago of coalition of the willing, I thought it was a clever redundancy or something. But are you conceptually, practically offering something new from that? Or,
well, I don't know.
Or is it just outside of NATO?
That listen, I think NATO's moribund. So I think it's one of these things that you push it, it'll fall over dead. I think what we have to understand is, when I say limited liability, is instead of looking at what I would call permanent alliance structures, which emerged in the aftermath of the Second World War, we need to look at temporary alliances with people based upon shared interests, shared security interests. And I think we're going to see more of that in the future. There may be times, by the way, when we will cooperate with the Chinese. Lord Palmerston, of course, said it best. The British Empire has no permanent friends or enemies, only permanent interests. And we have permanent interests, and we need to focus on those, and we need to be prepared to cooperate with those who share those interests. But we need to stop thinking in terms of this childish notion, there are friends. In international relations, nation states don't become friends. As Washington said, no nation state can ever be expected to move beyond the limits of its own interests. We need to focus on those interests, forget the rest of it. Well, thank you.
Dr. Macgregor, we'd like to express our gratitude and thank you for generously taking your time to share your insights with us today. On behalf of the Army War College class of DDE 2011, the Army War College Foundation, please accept this token with our sincere appreciation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Beautiful.